welcome to our world. And now I'd like to introduce somebody who shares a big love of the Northwoods, seeing deeply and communicating clearly, J.K. Roche.
Thank you, Mark.
And I think I was even shorter that time.
You know, I think you're better. This is our third time through. I think that was the best
Thank you.
presentation. Thank you so much. And everything that you said means so much to me, and it really articulates exactly how I feel as an artist. And just come over so they can see us together.
Here we are. We actually do exist. We coexist.
We just met each other.
Yep.
We've been working together since October on this exhibit, and we're hoping to do some other projects together. So I just want to thank you,
Very good.
Mark,
Thank
for
you.
that wonderful presentation. I'll tell you just a very little bit about myself, and then I will read a couple of poems to you. But first I want to say that it does my heart so much good that you're here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I have 3 generations of Ben's family is here. There's Nona, grandma, and there's his brother, and I don't mean to embarrass you, and also his mother. And this brings me so much joy because poetry crosses all the generations. It touches everyone's lives, and it brings us together. And I was back there trying not to make noise while Mark was speaking, but I wanted to read a poem and dedicate it to Grandma and to your grandson, because From Far Away is a poem that I wrote when my daughter was a missionary in Africa, and she's having her 4 children, and I couldn't get my hands on those grandbabies. But she would come and visit, and so I wrote this poem for my grandson when he was little. Now he's 13, and his voice is like this, and he's taller than me, but he is writing poetry with me now. And so I'm actually, as a bonus, I have this very small virtual exhibit coming up for National Poetry Month in April with the Presque Isle Library, and he's going to have one of his poems there. So it's kind of exciting grandma and grandson poems, but this is when he was little. It's called From Far Away. Remember, I'm loving you from far away, where the curvy roads weave through the mountain passes, and rivers and sky play peekaboo, while the cattle just eat their grass and watch. I'm thinking of how you pushed the wagon over the hill for Sissy, and it was hard, but you did it. And waited your turn, and figured out in this country you can't just pull your wagon for fun over the grass invisibly divided. Coco, you tell me, I'm coming up the path that leads to my Nona's house to paint her bench, and we'd better get started doing it together. And my heart smiles, young man, from the mess we made, that your mother had to rescue us. I'm still smiling, remembering you are loving me from far away, where the curvy roads weave through the mountain passes, and rivers and sky play peekaboo, while the cattle just eat their grass and watch. That was my little grandson, and now he's grown, and just wanted to dedicate that to you for coming 3 generations. Thank you. The second poem, As You Walk in the Door, is a poem that is written through the eyes of my dog. Patrick and I have 2 Springer Spaniels that are quite naughty, but we just adore them. And so this is one that was written through the eyes of Winchester, our older dog. It's called Compatriot. The brown eye of Winchester to a master watches. He is moody as a windswept marsh on a foggy, cold morn. Return at once, bellows the man leading the march. A grouse flits between us. Into the bog I rise, sound the alarm, here, here. He has missed it, as he often does now. There will be another, we both know, 1,000 miles of thicket worn into our knees, etched upon his face, within my reach and duty. That's for one of our dogs. And you know, each time that I have read today, I've read different poems, and every group has been different, and I want to tell you that I really enjoyed meeting each of you, and thank you for the things that you brought to the exhibit yourselves and shared. I made a little bookmark I hope you all take home with you. It's one of my poems, and this way you'll remember me, and I'll remember your faces, I won't remember your names. This one is called Dragonflies. This one was printed in a local paper. I've been very fortunate that people such as Julie and Jennifer, thank you for doing this with us. I can't believe you're standing and still so strong right now. You've been just going 100 miles an hour, but the local papers have been publishing and printing some of my poems, and this is one that I've received a lot of good feedback with. It's called Dragonflies. I happened upon a dragonfly swarm and sat down in the middle. An air show glittering in the morning sun, front row center and middle. They performed their feats from ground to sky, hundreds in mid-flight. Spectators gathered in flocking crowds of flowers, birds, and butterflies. And when it ceased, I cannot tell, as mesmerized I was, of whispering crepey angel wings, prismed silk and buzz. I only know at noon of day it happened still to be, in their quiet aftermath, kissed in peace. And I love Mark's picture of that. He's got the dragonfly on his daughter's nose, and that is just a perfect match between the poetry and the poem. So I just really enjoy that one. There are two others, and I don't know if I have time to have time for two more. I'm going to do Farewell. I haven't read this one today. I sent these poems to the printer and my graphic artist when I had them on the little, I don't know what you call it, it's not a port, it's a little thing you put in your computer and you can put all your data on it.
SD card.
Okay, a D card, yes.
Yes.
And I had edited all the poems and corrected my spelling, but I didn't transfer it to the D card. So it went to the printer, and this poem is terribly misspelled on the other side of one of these walls. It's called Farewell, and I will tell you that's a mistake I won't make again. So it's a learning process. There's a learning curve, but it's the only poem in the collection that is a tragedy or an ode also, so I wanted to share that with you. I close the door, dearest, on the chance that we foolishly linger in the frigid draft this late at night. The Northwoods by November can be terribly unforgiving. Do not be deceived, my love. Winter is upon us. She is beautiful, but without mercy. If you get caught traipsing about, oh somnolent man, a single tear drops to the floor, for I cannot meet your eyes or breathe, overcome by farewell. So it's just one that's kind of sad. You know, I learned early on, I used to write music, and with music you can write for presentation, you can write for performance, but when you write poetry, you can't do that. You have to just say how you feel. And so you have in this room a cross-section of poems about hope, and poems about death, and poems about tragedy. There's just all different things that come up in our lives, and they're particular to my life, but the themes are universal. So that's why you're able to enjoy this with me. This will be my last poem. It's called The Traveler. I asked Ben which poem he liked best, and he said this one. So I'm going to finish out my first exhibit. My very last poem is for you. Thank you for being here all day and filming us all day. It's been a long day, but you and Crystal, have been here for the whole thing. Thank you. This is called The Traveler. I wrote this my first winter. I came from Miami 5 years ago, and Florida, and where Mark is. We know the same areas, though we never met each other. I taught down there 12th grade theology, and my first winter was really scary, because there were wild animals and a lot of snow, and I was so scared to come up here to the Northwoods, and I was afraid I'd get lost driving, and everything looked the same, but I love it now. This is my home. When the terror subsided, I became a child again. Apparently the dogs had a child inside. They wrestled, silly, snow-dusty dogs frolicking in the blowing snow. A blur of action, lush in the moment. Jokesters. See Jane run, laughing again. The Train pulls in, breaking my trance. I stand and grab my bag. Destination, winter.